All right. Hi. Sorry about that. Um, so, what questions do you have for me? And if you would like, I can go through ERAS. Hi. Sorry about that. So, what, I don't have a video. It's only I'll only put up a video if I'm showing you something on my computer. Okay. No, well, I'm just here to answer questions, so I'm just going to read whatever questions you ask me through the chat, and then I'll answer them, or I can show you stuff from like my computer if it has anything to do with like ERAS or residency. So I applied really late um, into residency. So I applied probably around the end the end of November, mid-December, because I really didn't know if I wanted to apply for 2019, just because all my scores and my letters were coming in late. So I applied late. I didn't get any interviews except for one, but I also only applied to 14 places since most interviews were already given to other people. However, I know a lot of friends as IMGs who ended up applying to multiple places and they didn't have a problem getting interviews at all. So I don't think it matters as much as being an IMG, but you do need to realize that you need to apply to places that are more IMG friendly. Yeah, so you just kind of have to do research and see whatever places have accepted IMGs in the past, because they're more likely to interview another IMG who's applying. Yeah, I mean, for clinical rotations, our school had a 6 week introduction to clinical rotations. So we had 6 weeks where, I don't know, we kind of rotated through like an internal medicine floor. We did a little bit of ER. We also did um, an outpatient rotation. So that was 6 weeks. I don't know if that really helped, but I thought I was pretty well prepared for rotations. Um, just kind of getting used to the way the attendings will want you to present, I think, is the hardest part. And just getting along with people, because some people, are easier to get along with than others. But I think for the most part, I was already well prepared. Hmm. Challenging. I would say, I think it would just depend what challenging means. I think surgery and OB, well, actually, I would say OB was the most hours I had to stay at the hospital. I also had to come in on the weekends. At least for my core rotations, I think OB had the longer schedule. But I did enjoy that one the most. I think surgery was challenging with the people because there was a lot of drama and a lot of fights amongst the medical students rotating there. So that was also challenging. It just a lot of different opinions during that rotation. And then I think IM was just challenging because it was a very long rotation. So IM was 12 weeks, OB was 6 weeks, and surgery was 8 weeks. So I think for these core rotations, it just depended on like if I was able to get along with people or if it was really just like hospital hours. But surgery wasn't bad where I did it in terms of hours. It was just really getting along with the people who rotated with me. And then I guess, well, with elective rotations, like ER itself is just long, but it's not very it's a little challenging because you do have to like take care of patients, but it's not, but it was enjoyable because it's what I wanted to do. I don't think any of my elective rotations were challenging where I didn't want to do it. It was just something I was interested in. So it was more of the core rotations that were more challenging for me since I knew I didn't want to do surgery. I didn't want to do IM. So it was hard to just get through those weeks. Yeah, I think IM itself is supposed to be 12 weeks. Yeah, surgery is also supposed to be 12 weeks, but there are certain spots that my school has where it can be 8 weeks because if it was 12-week surgery, that extra 4 weeks counts as an elective or it counts towards our electives. And I didn't want to do surgery, so I wanted to use my electives for other things, which is why I opted to go to a hospital that was only 8 weeks versus 12 weeks. Yeah, I was thinking about that too. I didn't want to bash surgery when I hadn't done it yet. And some parts of surgery was interesting, but I didn't like the lifestyle. And there are certain things I knew I didn't like to do physically that I know in surgery most surgeons do. Like I really can't stand in the operating room for hours. Like it's just something I physically can't do. So I knew being a surgeon was not the one for me. Clinical rotations. I think for all clinical rotations, you do have to show your interest. Like even if you don't like it, you do have to show some sort of like effort into that rotation, especially core rotations, because those are those rotations where you have to do it even if you don't like doing it. So it's a lot harder to kind of like everything. It's hard to put in an effort to it. But I know I always tried to ask questions to the attendings. I also talked to the residents. So being able to connect with the residents is really good because they can also give feedback to the attendings if the attendings don't work as often, because the residents always work. So if you're always working with the residents, they can put in a good word for you later on, especially when you're applying to that same spot again for interviews. Um, Also, what I think is a good idea is to do a core rotation, and then if that rotation is like what you want to specialize in, come back again to do an elective, because then that shows you've already put in an additional amount of effort by coming back and doing an elective in it for a possible letter of recommendation. Not really, but I kind of got letters from most of my rotations during my core. So I got one from OB because I worked well with one of the attendings for multiple surgeries and multiple like patients. And then I also got a letter from surgery because that attending, who is the department head, is also a part of like the department head in my school or whatever. So I went to him for a couple questions outside of the office in regards to one of the specialties I was interested in. So I got a letter from him, and then I got some during my electives as well. So the electives are where you have to shine because that's where you kind of have to give your best effort. Um, so I definitely tried to get letters and as many as I could. But obviously, they have to be good letters. They can't just be generic. Yeah, most of them are good, and they'll like write letters for students. Sometimes they'll ask you to just write it, and then they'll sign it as well. So that happens pretty frequently, I think. Yeah, they should be personal. I'm not sure. I'm not sure about some of the letters I've gotten. I think they were pretty generic, but I ended up not using them for applying to programs since they were not emergency medicine related anyway. But I kept them in the back in case I plan to apply to IM or family medicine. Yeah, I know. But sometimes the attendings don't want to do it, so they just have you write it for them. But I guess that's kind of good because you're really hyping yourself up. What do you mean, like shelf exams? Like, are they hard or? So I used UWorld for most of my shelf exams. And I always took my shelf exams probably the last week of my rotation. I didn't use online method for IM. I used it for surgery and OB. I did watch online method for IM, but I ended up just using Step Up to Medicine and UWorld for IM, and then UWorld again for all the other rotations, and then online method just for OB and surgery, and Pistanas for surgery. OBGYN was actually pretty easy. I think the hardest is IM and family medicine. I don't know how many places actually use family medicine as a core rotation, but for my school, it was a requirement. So we had to take the family medicine shelf, and that one was hard just because there's no practice exam really for it. It's different. So I think IM and family were the hardest. Oh yeah, no problem. Hopefully I helped. Yeah, I didn't put any kind of video since I'm currently in the process of moving all my stuff, so it's pretty messy. But if you have any other questions, feel free to um, email me. There's also, I think I already just sent a bunch of emails, but if you have any other questions, you can contact me. You can also come back again if you want to ask more questions through a live chat, because I have more availabilities the next week. So I'll be putting that up too, and I'll let you know when those are. If you just want to, you know, take a break and just ask some kind of questions, you can just come back on the same website. Alrighty, any other questions? Okay. Also, I know you asked about the shelf exams. I can actually direct you to my website. My website actually has my entire clinical rotation experience. So where I did all my core rotations and electives, as well as what I used for the shelf exams and what I used for that rotation in terms of resources or like iPhone apps, etc. So I can give you that information too. Yep, no problem. All right, thanks again. Have a good day.